course, my first initial thought was, do I have cancer? You know, like so many other people, you think the worst straight away. The nurse came to see me, the specialist nurse, and she told me I had no choice, but most of my colon would have to be removed and they were going to have to put a bag in. So they were going to do major surgery on me. Yeah, well, I thought it was the diet that was going to cure me originally. I was you educated me on exactly what the process would be, such as the diet actually isn't what cures you, but it actually gives your body the room to repair. So you eat the correct foods and your body will react to that by healing itself. So yeah, I was doing really well. The toilet trips started to reduce, the blood started to reduce. I was tapering off my steroids nicely. My specialist that I was going to see in the hospital, he said, continue doing what you're doing because medication isn't going to do this. Yeah, the support was just unbelievable, and there's absolutely no doubt in my mind I couldn't have made it through without it. I wouldn't have had the knowledge. I couldn't have imagined having not alone my life back, but feeling better than I've ever felt in my whole life. That's the genuine truth. Okay, my life now is just amazing. There's no other way of describing it. So I don't have any symptoms. If we were to compare when I started to where I am now with going to the bathroom, I've gone from 40 plus times a day to 2 or 3 times a day. There's no blood, there's no diarrhea. Mentally, I've never felt as strong in my whole life. I've never been as happy. And I'm getting to go out and play with my kids again after years of not being able to. Yeah, it's just amazing. Like, there's no symptoms. I've completely reversed what I was told was an irreversible disease. I'm on no medication. I don't need to see the GP. I'm healthy. I expected to be healthy at the end of this, but geez, there's no way I could have expected this level of healthiness and this level of energy. It's crazy.
Give this video a thumbs up if you know what it's like to live with IBD, and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. This channel is designed to help people recover from colitis, Crohn's, and any other form of IBD. You can always head to our website, highcarbhealth.com, for a free 30-minute consultation from anywhere in the world. And remember, there is a life after colitis. Hello everyone, welcome to another video, and it's testimonial time again. Today I'm joined by Padraig from Ireland, who has now healed himself. Welcome to the channel.
Thanks, Shakul.
So Padraig, we're just going to start with talking about your journey and kind of some of the things you've been through. So just explain to the audience how you found out you had IBD and some of the, your initial experience with the diagnosis and everything.
Well, it all started in 2016 for me. So I had a bit of a stressful moment where unfortunately my mother passed away suddenly. And I think shortly after that, my health started to decline. So she passed in January, and by June, I was starting to see a bit of trouble. I think by November, I was going to the bathroom 10 times a day, and there would have been blood appearing with it. And of course, my first initial thought was, do I have cancer? You know, like so many other people, you think the worst straight away. So I went to my GP. He did a few checks there, and he actually suggested that it could have been Crohn's or colitis from the beginning. So yeah, he booked me in to see a specialist. I went and had a colonoscopy and endoscopy done. That was in December, I think, of 2016. And then after the Christmas holidays, they came back and diagnosed me in January as having UC. And they put me on steroids straight away and Asacol. And they told me that it wasn't curable and that I'd be on this medication, and let's just hope it doesn't get any worse, basically. So that was the beginning of it. I guess then it progressed on to having a flare a year later. It was under control for maybe 12 months. Then I had a flare a year later. So again, back on a heavy dosage of steroids, and they increased the Asacol dosage. And from there up until I spoke to you, it was every 6 months that I was having a flare up.
Hmm.
So the same
Okay.
thing happened into see the GP or the specialist. They'd give me steroids and increase the Asacol dosage up until it got so serious then in December
Hmm.
of 2019. So that basically came about after my specialist cancelled a few times and I knew I was getting worse and worse. So I knew I needed to be seen and that wasn't happening. And my GP suggested changing specialists, which I did. And the new person I went to was actually really good.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife, who has Crohn's disease, believe it or not, was under the same specialist. So we knew that he was doing a good job with her.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to see him and we tried a few different medications. We started with some oral medications, which again didn't work. One of them in particular was making me vomit a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, then I went on to the Remicade after that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that was like a super drug. The first time I had the infusion, that seemed to be working brilliantly.
Mm.
And then the second time, not as responsive. And I think within 6 weeks, the specialist nurse had me off that and changed on to another infusion drug, a similar one with crazy side effects again.
Yeah.
And my antibodies rejected that completely.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just progressively getting worse. At this stage, I was going to the bathroom probably 40, no, I was going over 40 times a day when they counted, or when I was counting it. So, for example, yeah, it was crazy. Like, I lived 10 minutes away from work. I would have to stop twice on the way to work. I would know where the bathrooms are, basically.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, even when I got to work, it was impossible to get through a normal day without, you know, uh, taking all these breaks because I needed to. Even if I had a meeting, I'd have to be ready to run out of the meeting and have an excuse ready. It was crazy.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's where I ended up. I ended up going into hospital this past December.
Mm-hmm.
So I was, as I said, I was going over 40 times. There was blood with everything.
Mm.
My weight was gone way down.
Mm.
Um, they straight away put me on IV steroids. They tried to do another colonoscopy and had to give me morphine because I was that inflamed and that sore. They couldn't complete the colonoscopy. Yeah, IV steroids straight away. The nurse came to see me, the specialist nurse, and
Mm.
she told me I had no choice, but most of my colon would have to be removed and they were going to have to put a bag in. So they were going to do major surgery on me.
Mm.
And at this stage, I had been investigating other options. I had
Mm.
found high carb health the summer before, I should have said that, and I
Right.
had made an attempt at the whole food plant-based diet on my own. And of
Mm.
course, like many other people, I didn't know what I was doing
Mm.
and failed me. So I went back to my what you would call a usual diet.
Right.
But when the specialist nurse came to see me, I asked her about the diet, and she said, it makes no difference whatsoever. Go home, eat as much meat as you can, so you'll be strong enough for surgery. She said, we'll have you back here within 2 weeks because you won't be able to get it down off the
Mm.
steroids.
Mm.
Or so yeah,
So,
that's
before we get on to what you did after that, how did that whole experience make you feel? Like being told that you have no control over this, that, I actually did a video and I'll put a link up there about the effectiveness of medication and explain exactly what you just said to me. One drug after the next drug after the next drug, and they fail and they fail and they fail. And, it seems like more often than not, they actually make people worse than better. But, yeah, talk to us about how that felt from a mental perspective, having to deal with that.
yeah. Well, from a mental perspective, it absolutely decimated me.
Mm,
I would be quite a confident guy, as in I would always try find the positives out of
mm,
any negative, basically.
mm,
But I remember
mm,
one day in particular, before I went into hospital, sitting in one of the rooms and nobody was around, and I just needed to weep. I spent maybe an hour just crying to myself, and that was purely from thought of what am I doing to my family? They have to put up with me in this situation, and I can't get any better.
mm,
Um, Ruining their life more so than it was ruining mine,
right.
you know. And that was the lowest point. That's when I
Mm,
thought, what's the point to all of this? You know, I can't be cured. They've told me I can't be cured. What's the point in even being around,
Mm.
and that, as bad as it did get, that was the weakest moment, which lasted an hour, I should say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got myself back together and
Mm.
said, right, there have to be other options. But yeah, mentally, even though I'm healed now, I still
Mm.
have some mental scars, such as getting in the car. I still think to myself on the way to work, right, where's the closest toilet? Oh, hang on a minute, I don't actually need to think that anymore.
Mm.
But yeah, even when I was in work, if somebody came into the office, I'd straight away start thinking, I hope I don't have to use the bathroom. And of course, what does that do? That
Mm.
brings on your bowels telling you need to go to the toilet. So there was
Yeah.
this whole horrible cycle that was just spiraling out of control. And
Mm.
I thought the only people I could trust were the medics. And of
Mm.
course, in a lot of cases, you can.
Yes.
And the specialist, the professor still was brilliant, whereas the specialist nurse was telling me, no, you've no choice. Your life is,
Mm.
this is how it's going to be until you do the surgery. You've no other choice. So that really had a terrible effect on me mentally.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, so you found us quite a while before you actually decided to get in contact. What was your mindset from that perspective, and what took you so long before you actually decided to get in touch with us at High Carb Health?
Well, yeah, it was the summer that I found you when before the flare up got really bad.
Hmm.
And I'd seen Shamisa's journey, and I guess I wasn't sick enough to contact you at the time, but I quietly knew where it was heading.
Right.
I watched all the great documentaries like Forks Over Knives, Game Changers. I had downloaded the Forks Over Knives app, and I used their diet plan or their
Hmm.
suggested recipes.
Hmm.
Um, it was only when I was excuse me, it was only when I was in hospital that I started watching all the testimonials.
Right.
Um, and I realized at that stage the reason I hadn't contacted you was because I was probably a bit suspicious of all these different and conflicting stories being told on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
But it was when I started watching the testimonials, I realized there were real people that were actually healed
Hmm.
and had exactly the opposite of what they had been told by their specialists as well. So I saw Shamisa's story as being similar to mine, as in he'd gotten to a really bad stage. I
Hmm.
think it was 40 times a day for him as well.
Correct.
And yeah, I just thought, what the hell, I'm going to reach out to these guys. You know, if all of this is true, what have I got to lose? It's only money,
Yeah.
And my side,
Yeah.
I'm going to a full
Well,
commitment to it.
Well,
So
I mean, realistically, the first one is free, so you don't you really have nothing to lose from that perspective.
yeah,
Just have a chat to us. If you don't like what you hear, then there's no obligation. But, um,
yeah.
okay, so
Actually, I was lucky with the first one because it was both of you. I emailed you saying I'm in real trouble here.
hmm,
When can you speak to me? And both of you were actually together because you were flying to India that day and you
yeah,
were rushing to the airport. And it was brilliant because I couldn't believe you made that effort when you didn't need to and were on a personal journey to India and you still took the time out to go and speak to me. And it was amazing. It was really calming to speak to you.
hmm.
And to share stories back and forth for that time. That was amazing to me.
Yeah. Actually, I don't. Actually, that slipped my mind. Actually, that we didn't. When you went. Obviously we were. Concerned about you and. Uh, wouldn't have been possible to speak to you for another week, I think, because we were away for a week. So, if we were going to chat to you, we would have had to speak to you right there and then. So,
Mm,
yeah, it was meant to be, I suppose. Uh,
yeah.
and what was your main takeaway from that interaction in terms of what you learned about what we were all about?
Well, I had read Dr. Klein's book already.
Hmm.
I had ordered that while in hospital, and it came, and I had read it. So I had, I would say, a decent bit of knowledge, not enough to know what I needed to know for the time ahead. But
Mm.
when I spoke to you, as I said, it was very calming because anything I said, you didn't react like, oh no.
Mm.
For the first time, I was so used to in the hospitals, anything I said, they were like, oh, they'd
Mm.
shake their head
Mm.
down as if yeah, you're going to die.
Yeah.
But you were, no, I've heard all this before. Don't panic. Listen, read more about it. You didn't tell me I needed to sign up with you. You didn't force my hand or anything like that, which I was expecting a sales pitch. It was quite the opposite, actually. It was more like he interviewed me to see if I was going to be able to commit to the program and follow through in it, because he had actually had the confidence and the proof that it was going to work, whereas I didn't know what I was getting into. So, yeah, I remember you saying, go ahead and watch Farts Overnight, Game Changers, and a few other documentaries, which I'd already watched. So I actually watched them a few times in the following week while you were traveling. And yeah, that first initial consultation was probably, it gave me a glimpse at what life could be, because I wouldn't have known otherwise. It was great.
Yeah, and so obviously, I think after that you decided to sign up to the program. Just talk to everyone, because I don't think people quite understand that this is an education program. We're not just giving you a food chart, or this is just here, do this, and then we're going to leave you to it. What we're all about is trying to educate you on how the body works and how the body heals. And there's so much about how the body heals, more than just food, that people need to be aware of. So when you get that initial guidelines email, just talk to people about some of the things that's included in that, and what you learn.
Yeah, well, I thought it was the diet that was going to cure me originally. Um, I was you educated me on exactly what the process would be, such as the diet actually isn't what cures you, but it actually gives your body the room to repair. So you eat the correct foods and your body will react to that by healing itself. I didn't realize that the inflammation was actually my body trying to heal itself. I thought it was reacting and fighting against each other. So everything that I told in hospital was actually conflicting what the truth was, or not everything, but a lot of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sleep was a big part of it, to get as much sleep as possible, because that's when your body repairs itself most. So I started going to bed at 8 o'clock, and I try not get up until 8 o'clock the following day if I could. Exercise, while I had the energy before I started detoxing, exercise was a big part of it. So I try walk every morning, and maybe in the evening after work again. Hydration, another big thing. So I'd be drinking maybe 2 or 3 of these in the morning, and then that would get my body feeling actually a lot better straight away. It was great. And throughout the day, drink as much as possible. And then the mental aspect of it. So I had actually been getting some bio treatment, which helped a lot with my mental health as well at the time. So that actually got me over that stage, into a good stage, I should say, before I even started working with you. But mental health is a big part of it. And commitment, I have to say. You have to be fully committed. You have to do it right. There's no thing. You have to, your education that you provided me showed me what the end product was going to be, if you want to call it that. And yeah, otherwise, if you hadn't given me all that information, I wouldn't have known what to expect, even though there were always a few surprises thrown in there every so often.
We'll talk about those.
Yeah.
All right. So, in terms of the program, obviously we start you on a transition phase. So, I think your journey was slightly different than the majority of our clients, because you went through you had a few curveballs thrown in. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your healing journey, and how kind of, from the beginning, from the transition phase to when you went into the healing phase, and you can maybe describe some of those curveballs, and I'll add to that as well, based on how we were able to overcome those, because some of them were a little bit tricky, weren't they?
That's it. So yeah, I started the transitional diet with you pretty much straight away. I was close enough to it. I was vegetarian already since Christmas. So yeah, I just removed anything to do with an animal going through my body at all, which was great. So yeah, and it was about training my taste buds for what to expect, which was actually pretty amazing. I loved that part. So yeah, I was doing really well. The toilet trips started to reduce, the blood started to reduce. I was tapering off my steroids nicely, and then I went through a bit of a detox. Thought I was out the other end. We both did.
Mm.
And yeah, everything seemed to be going according to plan. Um, I started having swelling in my knee, which prevented me from exercising.
Mm.
Um, I had to go to see the doctor a few times with that.
Mm.
Um,
Just talk
so
about
that
your
was
detox symptoms, like what kind of symptoms we're experiencing. Because I think one of the things we get told about our testimonials is that people don't describe what they went through in enough detail. So let's just dive a little bit deeper into some of the symptoms that
okay.
you experienced.
Yeah, so I went through two detoxes. The first one was very easy to deal with. So
Mm.
it was like an increase in going to the toilet. A lot of the symptoms came back again, like the blood came back again. Um, I was tired the whole time. I needed to, not the whole time, I needed to sleep. I'd take a nap during the afternoon.
Mm.
The mental side of it, I still wasn't able to get into the car without bringing it on myself that I'd need to use the bathroom.
Mm.
So that first detox, I got through that pretty quickly and thought everything was hunky dory. And then about a month later, bang, a massive detox came
Mm.
out of nowhere. So I had a second detox,
Mm.
and the symptoms became really bad. I started going to the bathroom about 16 times at the height of it
Mm.
again. Blood started to come back. My weight just fell off me. Like I would have been 12 and a half stone before I got ill at Christmas. I went down to 8 stone,
Mm.
4 pounds. So I looked like a skeleton. So
Mm.
some of my friends were actually worried about me, and even a couple of kids that go to school with my own kids. There was a rumor that started that I had cancer, you know.
Right.
So that's how bad you do look when you're going
Mm.
through this. It's definitely not one bit easy. There's no hiding the fact that well, definitely the one I got was really tough.
Mm.
Um, and I remember emailing you saying, Shakul, this is not going well. Should I be worried here? And straight away you said, no, don't worry. Everybody reacts differently.
Mm.
Um, so I just went on a liquid diet basically of I had my juice in the morning, then I would have banana smoothie for breakfast, then I would have banana smoothie for lunch,
Mm.
and then have a simple soup. I actually went to banana smoothies just without dates or anything,
Mm.
3 times a day, and that got me over the hump eventually. But
Mm.
that lasted 2 weeks. I couldn't get out of bed one day.
Mm.
There was one I just literally lied in bed and I thought, what's going on here? This isn't working. And that was the only day that I actually thought to myself, this isn't working. Why am I doing this?
Mm.
And again, similarly, that lasted about maybe an hour or two.
Yeah.
And my wife was extremely worried. We
Mm.
rang my GP, who is a great supporter of what I was going through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
See
an
how
interesting story about your GP as well. Tell that story about how your GP kind of supported you because of his experience as well.
Yeah, so I told my GP I was reading the China study book, which is another book related to what I was doing.
Mm.
And he said, yeah, my uncle actually used that to cure himself. I think it was from Crohn's, not colitis,
Mm.
a number of years ago. So anything like even when I went into him with my swollen knee, he said, usually we'd give you anti-inflammatories, but he said, I don't want to give you any medication without speaking to Shakul
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
And he was really supporting me in the program. He's
Mm.
saying always check with Shakul first. He even asked me for the readings you'd suggested, so
Mm.
sent them on to him. He actually went and read it all. And his last comment the last time I went in to see him was, he said, I was telling him how good I was feeling, and he
Mm.
said, this is amazing. He said, I can't wait for the science to catch up with this so
Yeah.
everybody can be aware of it. Like, you don't get GPs like
No.
that, you know.
No.
I was lucky. And
Yeah.
even
I wish they were all like
saying
that.
my specialist that I was going to see in the hospital,
Mm.
he said, continue doing what you're doing because medication isn't going to do this. So I was
Exactly.
lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, you think about it, where you are being told that and we get contacted so many times by people saying, "Oh, my specialist wants to take my colon out. What do I do?" And
Hmm.
it's really important. Like you've seen Shamiza's story, you've seen Padraig's story right now. You don't have to accept it. You can try other things, and you can the colon is one of the most important organs in your body. They just think it's disposable. That's where most of your defense system lies. That's where the good bacteria in your body lie. That's how your body protects itself from, different diseases and pathogens and stuff like that. So, if you don't have your colon, you don't have, defense system or an immune system, basically. It makes it a lot harder for your body to kind of deal with certain things. So, having your colon in place is extremely important. So don't just accept, you know, the fact that that's going to be your fate. You do have options, and you can see here, living proof of people that, Shamiz has already been following him for now coming up to 8 years. Padraig's been able to achieve it where he didn't have an option medically but to take the colon out, but he said, no, I'm going to try something else, you know. And here he is, sitting here. Was it coming up to 7 months since you started working with us? A bit more than that.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
7 months.
Yeah, and everything's still there. He's been through a hell of a ride, but everything's still there. Yeah, so that's interesting, and obviously it's great when you get medical professionals who support that process as well, isn't it? It makes your life a lot easier. I mean, unfortunately, not everyone does, but when you do get it does make your life a lot easier. Okay, so just finishing that whole story about your detox, even with the knee, which was hugely inflamed, you found it hard to walk at certain points because people don't understand that the body is not just healing the gut on this program; it's healing all different areas that are damaged. Okay, the gut just happens to be one of those areas, and so your body had to do some healing around your knee as well. How did that feel? And the recovery from that, and you didn't take the medication, did you?
No, I took, what did I took something simple one
I
day. I
think you took a
remember
painkiller,
telling you that
maybe.
actually.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I physically couldn't walk,
yeah.
and I was in hospital,
Mm.
and they actually made me, not forced me, but they said
Yeah.
you have to take this in order to get home. So
Mm.
I took it, and that's the only day that blood appeared again the following day when I
Mm.
went to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, my knee naturally went back to normal. I was very impatient with it because I couldn't exercise. As
Yeah.
he said, were days where I couldn't actually physically walk. I
Mm.
was limping. I was wearing a support around it the majority of the time.
Mm.
Um, my ankles actually became swollen for maybe a week as well. People might relate to that. Everybody's different.
Mm.
But yeah, the need was there. I think it was throughout maybe more than half of the program that my knee was swollen, and we
Mm.
were talking about it every time we'd speak. How's your knee today? And I'd be
Mm.
saying, yeah, it's better. I could actually walk for a kilometer today, and
Mm.
you'd remind me, make sure you rest because your body needs to rest in order for it to repair itself. So
Mm.
yeah, now it's back to normal.
Yeah.
You know, after all, after everything, it just miraculously, you could say, even though I know
It's
a
not a
lot of it.
miracle.
So it went back to normal. I'm now walking 6 to 9 kilometers a day, like, so that'll tell you
Mm.
the difference in the space of weeks we're talking here.
Yeah.
Like, it's only weeks ago that I couldn't walk.
Mm. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
that's really important because you obviously didn't go through what we would consider like a textbook healing journey, right? Where you got worse, then it started to get better, and then you kind of finished your healing journey. You kind of like had a double healing, and the second one was kind of more severe. Um, just talk about the support during that, and how would you have managed it if you didn't have that support throughout the process?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't have understood what was happening to me, first of all, which would
Mm.
have been extremely scary.
Mm.
Would have thought this isn't working, and I would most definitely I'd have given up.
Mm.
The fear factor would have kicked in,
Yeah.
and that fear factor was built into me at that stage because I knew nothing else over because of being ill for so long.
Mm.
Um, but I could reach out to you at any time, so I'd drop you an email. Um, you'd always be back to me pretty much straight away and say, "Don't worry, we've seen this before." You see, you've worked with so many people.
Mm.
Everybody's detox, everybody's journey is completely different. So,
Mm.
anything I said, you would more than likely have seen this at least once before and
Mm.
gotten So it was like encouragement, keep going, you're doing great, don't give in. Not that
Mm.
it ever crossed my mind really to give
No,
in, but
no.
you always had that great encouragement there. And you were at the end of a call at any stage, which was amazing. Like you didn't need to give up all this extra time, but yet you did, and
Mm.
you were ready for a Skype call if I needed it. There was we only really needed to speak once a week after the first detox, and straight away you were on twice a week. You were looking for daily updates.
Mm.
You were looking at my bloods. I was getting my bloods done every few weeks. You were monitoring absolutely everything. We used the app, the chronometer, so you were able to follow my diet.
Mm.
Could see how many times I was using the bathroom, even, it's something as simple as that.
Mm.
Um, yeah, the support was it was just unbelievable. And there's absolutely no doubt in my mind I couldn't have made it through without it. I wouldn't have had the knowledge. I wouldn't have been given the confidence and the reassurance. So it's central. So
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, I just think of, the people that give up without understanding what's happening, and they might have been so close to finishing their healing journey, and they stop, and yeah, it makes me a bit sad. But I think everyone has their own path in this, and that's important as well to understand that. So, full credit to you, because people think that while the support is important, that knowledge is crucial. If you don't have that knowledge, then really, how do you know what's going on? It makes it much more difficult
Mhm.
to realize, okay, well, I'm feeling worse, but actually, what does that mean, and why is it happening? And I think that's what the education piece is all about. Whereas, um, it's not just about just eat this and you get better. It's that's just too simplistic, and the being sick is not a simplistic thing, especially when you've got a really serious illness like an IBD. It's not just a simplistic thing. So, yeah, I just wanted to make that clear. Full credit to you, because you put in all that hard work. You've had the commitment and the discipline and the patience to stick it out. When it got really tough, you didn't give in, and that's what champions are made of. And if you want to beat IBD, you need to be a champion. Shamiz talks about it all the time. Are you going to be a champion, or are you going to be a victim? And to beat it, and to come out a winner at the end, you need to be a champion, because that's what it takes. But it's worth it, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. This is I couldn't have imagined having not alone my life back, but feeling better than I've ever felt in my whole life. That's the genuine truth.
Mm.
And like you were trying to give me credit there, but it's 100% teamwork. Like
Yeah,
there's
I'll take that. I'll accept that.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's absolutely like
Yeah.
I tried to do this a year before on my own, and
Mm.
I failed with the exact same commitment, but I just didn't
Mm.
have the knowledge, or I didn't have the support.
Hmm.
It's just it genuinely it wouldn't have been possible without being able to work with you. That's
Yeah.
the truth.
No, I'll,
Mm.
I'll accept the teamwork. I like that as a way of explaining it. It is a real team effort, and yeah, it's not about being prescriptive. It's about working together to come to a solution that suits you. You know, and there's no one size fits all. It really depends on what your symptoms are like, what you're experiencing, your likes and dislikes. There's all sorts of things that we need to take into account when someone's healing, and you can't just as I've said this I think 3 or 4 times already, it's not just a cookie cutter solution. You can't just say to someone, eat this food and you'll be all right, because there's so many other things you need to be looking into. So let's talk about what your life is like now. I mean, we've already touched on that a little bit, but I think it's really important to let people understand why you put in all that hard work, why you went through that short-term grief, why you went through all those experiences, right, to get to where you are now. Like, what is your life like, and how do you feel?
Okay, my life now is just amazing. There's no other way of describing it. So I don't have any symptoms. If we were to compare when I started to where I am now with going to the bathroom, I've gone from 40 plus times a day to 2 or 3 times a day, and that's
Mm,
usually in the morning, and it's done by 10:30, and there's no urgency anymore.
mm,
There's no blood, there's no diarrhea. Um, Mentally, I've never felt as strong in my whole life. I've never been as happy. Um, and I'm getting to go out and play with my kids again after years
Mm.
of not being able to. I can pretty much eat anything healthy that I want. I still stick to the diet fully. Um, I use forks over knives because it's a safe bet always for me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it's just amazing. Like there's no symptoms. I've completely reversed what I was told was an irreversible disease. I'm
Mm.
on no medication. I don't need to see the GP. I'm healthy. I walk between 6 and 9 kilometers a day. I've started running maybe one of those kilometers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it's just I've energy to burn. That's the other thing. And from my family, they actually went. I should have said this. They've all actually gone the whole food plant-based diet with me from the beginning. So my
Nice.
11-year-old refuses at parties even he refuses to eat chips if there's oil on it. He takes it that serious, and he plays a lot of sports, and his coaches have been asking me what the hell is going on that he has so much energy. So it's not just me that's benefited from this. uh, yeah,
Yeah.
I couldn't. I expected to be healthy at the end of this, but geez, there's no way I could have expected this level of healthiness and this level of energy. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, it's also those little things that we take for granted that you don't realize how important they are until you can't do them anymore, isn't it? Like, you talk about just going outside and playing with your kids. You're like, oh yeah, I'll always be able to do that, and you always think you
Yeah,
can until you can't. You know?
that's it. I couldn't even go for a meal with my family before because I'd have to, run to the bathroom and think about it.
Mm,
It's my 11-year-old's birthday today, and we're going to go for dinner. I can actually go out and eat veg if I want, whatever I want to eat, rice,
mm,
and I don't have to worry about ruining his party this time,
yeah.
the first time in 4 years.
Wow, that hits home,
Yeah,
doesn't it? That really hits home. Because
it does.
yeah, jeez,
Maybe
I wouldn't have probably understood the magnitude of that until I became a dad. The fact that you know,
that's it.
to be able to just participate in those events and how much they value that experience, and how much they would have felt sad that dad couldn't be there when you were sick, and
Yeah.
how to try and comprehend why is this happening to my dad would have been really tricky, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it was really difficult, especially on my son who'd be that bit older. So
Hmm.
he didn't realize what was going on, but he noticed his dad less and less being able to interact in his social life.
Hmm.
Even bringing him to sports events, we'd go to an amazing Irish sport called hurling. We'd season tickets
Yeah.
to that,
Yeah.
and I could travel around the country with him for the last year.
Hmm.
We had to watch it on TV, and even in that, I spent most of the match in the bathroom, so I'd be
Wow.
missing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're out poking ball together and everything again, and things the last 2 or 3 years had been missing. So yeah, it was extremely difficult on both my kids and my wife as well. Like
Yeah.
I was absent because of this illness for
Hmm.
definitely 2 years, maybe even 3 years. So it's just amazing to have family life back again. That's the best thing I've taken from all of this. We're
Hmm.
better than we ever did before, and we're all just so happy. And my wife is off her medication as well.
Is she?
For
Oh, you didn't tell
yeah,
me that.
yeah, she's
Hey.
taking the immunosuppressants anymore. She's not getting
Wonderful.
her infusion anymore. She's on the same diet as me, and she has absolutely no symptoms. So she had Crohn's for 13 years, and yeah, we were the only couple in the country. Apparently, this is going back 2 years ago that has this disease, similar
Oh,
diseases.
yeah.
So they did a survey on us. So I wish they'd come back and do a survey now to see how
Oh.
we've healed ourselves.
Oh,
It might be.
you honestly need to get on national TV or something. I swear. Maybe we'll have to get you both on the channel at some point in the future. Um,
Definitely. Yeah.
wow, you didn't. I was actually going to ask you about your wife and how she's doing because I didn't know how what she was because initially you mentioned to me she was a bit reluctant to come off the medications because she wasn't struggling with them or anything like that. But how amazing is
Yeah.
that?
Well, I think COVID-19 hit. I said it to you before jokingly. If we could have planned it, it was the perfect time to
Right.
hit.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
our household because
Yeah. Yeah.
we neither of us wanted to be on these immunosuppressant drugs
Hmm.
because the chances of things going wrong if we got COVID-19 would
Hmm.
have been fairly extreme. So
Hmm.
that was the kick in the ass for both of us, really. To right, Michelle said as well, I don't need to be on this. Like, it's more dangerous than not being on it. So
Yeah.
she went against her specialist wishes and followed, not to the same extreme as what I was doing, but she followed. And yeah, she didn't need detox or anything, but she's on the same diet and no symptoms whatsoever. So she's been off her medication with a while now as well.
That's awesome. Oh, I'm so pleased for her. Just send her my congratulations. It's awesome.
Thank you. I will do.
All right. So once again, Padraig, Sham and I are just so proud of you, mate. Just really, really happy for you. My favorite part whenever I finish working with someone is to tell you you now have a life after colitis. Those famous words, we love them so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, congratulations, mate. It's just this is what we do it for. This is the reason that we do what we do, and yeah, yeah, getting a little bit emotional, mate. But yeah, it's just such a good feeling, when you've got through it and you got to the other side and you put in the hard work, and yeah. So yeah, any last words?
Yeah, I want to say a huge thank you to you and make it clear how much I loved working with you on the program. It wasn't just getting from A to B or anything. It was more, it became a friendship as well, as I'm sure it does with all of the people you work with. So
Yeah.
I want to thank you for the human aspect above anything else. Yeah.
Oh, you're welcome, mate. And yeah, it's a real pleasure working with you. And I'm sure we'll be in touch long after we've actually officially finished, our client relationship. Yeah, definitely a real pleasure, and really happy for you. So yeah, again, congratulations. Now, for everyone watching this video, I hope you liked it, and if you did, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe to our channel, and that little bell notification icon will keep you updated on all our latest uploads. If you have any questions about Padraig's story, why don't you just note them down in the comment section, and we'll try and get back to you as soon as we can. Until next time, guys, make sure you eat plants, and lots of them. I know Padraig is. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.